Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. We're now into March, so it's time for another wrap-up. I'm going to start things off with a book haul. Now, I've picked up some very interesting books recently, and the thing is, I've not exactly gone out of my way to buy new books. These are just things which came my way kind of by chance, as you'll see. Starting with this book, The Road to Corley by Richard Cooper, which was very kindly sent to me by Simon from SF Retirement Library. I won this in a book giveaway competition that he was hosting on his channel. So there were 10 books to be won. The selection process was random, and this is the book that I ended up winning. I don't know a huge amount about this book. I believe it's a post-apocalyptic novel, but Simon rated it very highly in his 2025 reading wrap-up. So thank you very much to Simon for sending me this. He also sent me this nice personalised bookmark. So yeah, that was lovely. Do go and check out Simon's channel if you haven't done so already. I've also recently picked up Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. This is a second-hand copy which I picked up at a book auction hosted by my local SF group recently. There was a variety of SFF books available on auction. This is the only book that I bought. I got this for £2, which I think is a bit of a bargain. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and I'm happy to add it to my TBR. Right, the next set of books is very interesting. I've got here 12 books, right, that come in a set. So these are the fractal episodes of standalone novellas by Alan Stroud. So these books were sent to me by Flame Tree Press. Now, Flame Tree have sent me a lot of stuff before. Quite often they will send me arcs or new releases, sometimes without even telling me. New books just turn up in the mail. In this case, they reached out to me and they offered me this set of 12 novellas. So these are all standalone novellas. I have read other novels within the Fractal universe. It's a kind of hard SF space opera series. Not so much the novellas. And the thing is, these are only usually commercially available as ebooks. You can't actually buy the physical copies. These are the special edition physical arcs. So I feel quite privileged to have received these. I generally prefer reading physical books to ebooks, and so I think this is a really nice addition to my collection. And what's more, if you put all the covers together, they make up this amazing mosaic, which I think is a really nice touch. This is a really nice set, and I'm very happy with this. So thank you very much to Flame Tree for sending me these, and I look forward to reading some of them. Right. So, those are my recent additions to the library. Let's talk about what I've been reading in February. Now, February was a themed month for me, Feline February. So, I've been reading a bunch of cat-related stuff, as you may have gathered if you've seen my two most recent videos. So I read Mort by Robert Rapino, which is an action-packed post-apocalyptic thriller told from the point of view of an uplifted cat. It's got military sci-fi. It's got a lot of stuff going on in this book. This was bizarre, very entertaining. I would say it's definitely my reading highlight of the month. It's the start of a series called The War with No Name, which I'm kind of curious to continue, but I don't feel a need to do so anytime soon. there's just too much else that I want to read. Anyway, Mort was a fantastic read. So alongside that book, I also read Cats in Space and Other Places, edited by Bill Fawcett, which is an anthology of cat-themed stories, which I recently reviewed in a separate video. And Divine Endurance by Gwyneth Jones, which is a kind of post-apocalyptic travelogue, I guess you could call it, featuring a young android woman and her sentient talking cat. Now, I've talked about this book and the other two books and multiple other books and stories in my two most recent cat-themed videos, so feel free to check those videos out if you want to know more. I will say, though, however, that this last novel, Divine Endurance, has initiated a bit of a reading slump, unfortunately, for me. I've been getting through this book very slowly. It's not to say it's a bad book. The prose is thoughtful and poignant, and the world building is rich and complex. So it does have some things going for it, but it's not always that easy to read. It's written in a very desultory style. The plot sometimes loses focus. It requires patience to get through. So it's not going to appeal to everyone. It's not necessarily a bad thing in fiction to have an unfocused narrative, I think, but I do think you need to be in the mood for it. And this is not the kind of book you can burn through. So it's a bit like reading Proust, right? You have to read it in small doses. At least I do. Too much and it becomes a slog. So for my next book, I'm definitely going to pick up something more gripping. Anyway, besides those three books, my audiobook pick for February was The Interpretation of Cats by Claude Bieta. This is a non-fiction book translated from French that was really fascinating, I thought. Claude Bieta is a vet and animal psychiatrist, and this book is basically a deep dive into feline psychiatry, which is a field of veterinary science that is still quite developing, but I think it's got some very interesting insights into cat behaviour and mentality. So especially if you're a cat owner, I think it's really worth the read. And the audiobook narrator is great. He's got a very soothing voice that kind of sounds a bit like a nature documentary commentator. So that about wraps up my reading and listening for the month. But the cats don't end there. I've also been playing a cat-themed video game recently that I picked up on the Nintendo Switch called Stray. So this is a kind of puzzle adventure game in which you control a stray cat in a kind of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk environment. And this footage that I'm displaying now is footage that I captured while I was playing the game. It's quite good fun, I think. I happened to see this game advertised, and while I'm not a huge gamer, I thought this would be a great addition for Feline February. The basic premise is you control a stray cat who is stuck within a futuristic, decaying city populated by robots and machines, and your goal is to find your way back to the surface world with the help of a drone companion. So yeah, anyway, let's move on. March TBR. These are the books I've got planned for this month. Starting with A Time of Changes by Robert Silverberg. This is the book that I hope will break my reading slump. And just look at that amazing cover illustration there by Bruce Pannington. So this is a book I've been meaning to read for quite a while. This particular copy was sent to me courtesy of Jim from News from the Gelding last year, and this will be my 4th Silverberg book to read. Everything I've read by him so far I've really enjoyed. They've all been 4 to 5 star reads. This one I hope will be no exception. Can't wait to start this. Another book I'm planning to read is 10 Billion Days and 100 Billion Nights by Ryu Mitsuse. This is one that I've been intrigued about for some time, and it's billed as the greatest Japanese science fiction novel of all time. That's what it says on the back here, which is quite an impressive claim. And I realised I had to read this book when Masked Manta discussed it in his top 15 science fiction reads video last year. It sounds absolutely incredible, so I look forward to reading this one. I also have The Maker of Universes by Philip Jose Farmer, which is the first book in his World of Tears series, which is a 7-book science fantasy series. And I've long been intrigued by this. I really want to give this series a try. And it's been a while since I've had a series on the go. I do generally like Philip Jose Farmer, so we'll see how I get on with this. Finally, my audiobook pick for the month. This is going to be a non-fiction book, American Crusade, How the Supreme Court is Weaponizing Religious Freedom by Andrew L. Seidel. Andrew Seidel is a constitutional lawyer who I've been following on YouTube for a while now. I think he's a great speaker. He's doing some very important work challenging Christian nationalism and the powerful religious right in America. And this book has just become available on Audible, so I thought I'd give it a try. So that is my TBR for March. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.